Hey everyone. Hi, how are you? Thanks for hopping on tonight. I have a special guest in our community and I'm super excited to chat with her. But before I get into all of that, let me just give you a quick intro about me, about what I do, and what this community is all about. My name is Fallon. I'm a registered nurse, full-time nurse, health and wellness coach, a personal trainer, and lover of all things health and wellness. And I am the creator of the Nurse Wellness Community. Here we support each other in our wellness goals. Our wellness goals can be, health focused. They can be, focused on nutrition, fitness, mindset, financial, and even ways to better cope with just nursing life. Right now, it is a very stressful time. Things are changing rapidly, and we have to stay prepared. What better way to face anything that comes our way as healthcare heroes out here trying to do the best fight that we can than to be prepared physically and especially mentally. Having those tools in our tool belt so that whatever comes our way, we're ready. We don't want to just show up to the fight without your tools, right? Hey, Wendy, gonna have her hop on really quick in just a minute, but let me tell you about Miss Wendy Garvin Mayo. She's a nurse practitioner. She is a stress solution strategist. Can't wait to hear about that. Author, speaker, motivator. Y'all, I'm so excited to talk with her. She is also going to be a part of our community's 1 year celebration on August 27th. She's gonna be a special panelist on the Zoom call. So you want to make sure you register for that. I will definitely leave the info for that if you haven't already registered. Y'all, we turning one. This community has been here for 1 year. We're supporting each other. We're growing. We're glowing into 2022 and beyond, honey. So definitely excited to celebrate that with our community. So let me bring on Wendy. We can do this thing. So let's see. I'm really excited to have her on. Hi!
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Hello. Yes, I love your earrings. You're looking fabulous.
Thank
How
you.
are
You
you?
sound really low to me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you're low, but I can hear you, but it is very low. I'm not sure
It's
why
low.
that.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, so we're doing this thing, y'all. We trying to make it work. On Facebook Live, we're having fun. But Wendy, so excited to have you. I'm super excited that you're going to be on our community event, the Nurse Wellness Community turning one. But I wanted to take some time to really get to know Wendy, all of the good stuff and beyond. So let's find out, so what does a stress solution strategist mean? Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so stress is inevitable. We all have stress in our lives, especially now, us being nurses in the middle of this pandemic. And being a stress solution strategist, we all have tools to manage stress. So I help nurses really strategize on how to use those tools, and not only use them, but make them sustainable in their lives, especially during times like this. Because,
Yes.
Our stress solution tools, we house them within ourselves. But when we're stressed, it's hard to really access those tools and harder to actually use them. So I help people really tap into that.
Oh, I love that. You're right. When you're stressed, when you're in the moment sometimes, or really going through it, it's sometimes easy to forget, oh yeah, I have this. I know I can take care of myself. Sometimes
Right?
it's easy to fall into that pit. So I love how you say you strategize, because I feel like we do that as nurses in our everyday care.
Absolutely.
We prioritize, we, strategize the day. So sometimes you need that person, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of that for our patients, but as nurses, it's hard for us to hold the mirror up to our face and be our own advocates. So I also help nurses do that, hold that mirror up, and say, what is it that you need? Right?
Yeah.
Really honoring that. And sometimes that's really hard. You'll be very surprised. Well, probably not, because you're a nurse yourself. How many nurses don't even really know what they want, what they need, or even how to get it. And a time like this, we really need to have answers to those questions.
Yeah, what makes you think that we forget sometimes? It's like we get lost or clouded, or what makes you think that what makes you think that we would forget that? Why are some reasons? do you think?
Well, we're just not used to thinking about ourselves, right? I mean, we all became nurses not to practice self-care and wellness. You asking
Not
us
for
why
us,
you become a
right?
nurse? Because
No.
I want to help people. I want to serve people. And I'm the same way, right? I'm the same way. And even for me, you know, I'm serving people on a whole different level, right? So I became a nurse to serve patients, which I still do, but I'm serving, you know, caregivers. You know, that's formal and informal caregivers, you know, so my cancer caregivers, I serve them. I also serve, you know, nurses now. But it's not something that we think about. And outside of the hospital, nursing is an art, right? So what I mean by that is it's not something you just do when you step into a clinic or a hospital or a healthcare institution. You are serving even when you're home, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're in the grocery store, right? I mean, you're
on
serving
duty
all the time. So that I want to take care of people is something you carry with you throughout your life.
Yeah.
So we don't even think about ourselves.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
It's hard. It can be hard to shift. And I feel like there's like a lot of guilt to like, okay, let me shift to me. How can I take care of me? Especially when you're stressed, maybe.
Yeah. And you know what I tell nurses is that in order for you to serve at your full capacity, you have to take care of yourself, right? So we always talk about pouring from an empty cup. We do that. We do that very well. But we don't pour effectively, right? Because we're so stressed. We have so much going on. So we're pouring, but then that's where, you know, you have your burnout. That's where you have your chronic illness. That's where you have your mental illness. So that's what when you cross over, right? That line's cross. So, you know, you come here, but then like a pandemic, like right now, what's going on, you cross over. And on the other side of that is depression, anxiety, substance abuse, high blood pressure, diabetes, you know what I mean? Suppressed immune system, infertility, you know, so it's a threshold. And some people don't know their limit, you know, and I think this pandemic really broke people, and people have realized things about themselves they never even thought of. And whether that's good or bad, right? I think people are learning a lot about themselves, and the pressure of that is that we are really being reintroduced to ourselves because we've never been in a position like this. And some people don't like what they're seeing. You know what I mean? So it's really, really hard, but they still have to function. You still have to go to work. You still have to take care, you know, the patient. You still have to take care of your kids, your family. Those things don't change. So it's tough. We are in a tough position.
I just want to go back to what you said, you know, at that threshold, like, you know, when you're pouring from an empty cup, we do that well. You know, yes, we come from a good space and we want to give to others, but there's that thin line that we can cross. And I love how you put the names on it, like what it is that we jeopardize ourselves, you know, crossing over onto. Like, okay, the empty cup, yes, you do it well, you take care of others well, you put yourself, that's good and great, but you're on a thin line, you know, what is really on that other side? And I like how you really break that down and name those things like depression and anxiety and, you know, stress eating and emotional eating and all of those other things. Like there's physical things that happen to us. And we know that as nurses, but I don't know, that heart-head disconnects, the heart-head disconnect.
Yeah. And many nurses, nurses are humans, and many of us have illnesses that we don't talk about, right? So many nurses suffer from depression, anxiety, PTSD, you know, high blood pressure, chronic illness, autoimmune disease. So right now, because we're in a position where we're high stress, all those things are being revealed. And because it's not something normally we talk about, they're suffering in silence. Right. So one thing that, you know, I advocate for is let's normalize talking about, you know, stress, burnout, depression, anxiety on the floor. In clinic. We should be talking about these things, not only talking about it, but also having resources for nurses and a variety of resources because, you know, counseling, I'm a big advocate of counseling, I'm a big advocate of coaching, but nurses need resources. They need resources to tap into. But also, I want to just say this. Some hospitals have resources, but nurses need to use them, right? But there's a gap there. And the gap there is that we never had to use them. So how do we fill that gap in, you know, allowing nurses to know it's okay to use these resources, to not be stigmatized, right? To really invest in yourself. So I think institutions have to do a better job of normalizing the conversation, normalizing utilization of the resources, because we are in crisis mode. We are
Yeah.
definitely in crisis mode. You know, our profession is, we're in crisis, and that's the only way I can really put it. So we have to do something different. And when I say something different, we need to do something different for our nurses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Talking about it, like having that normalized conversation, like, hey, this is we're at we can get these things too. This can happen to us too, you know, just because we're leaders and we're nurses, like we can definitely be susceptible to these things, especially because of the stress, the change in environment, the unknowns that we're facing right now, you know, having that conversation and like, okay, this is what can happen. I think that's really good. And that's why I love these communities, especially yours, the Nurse Wellness Hub. So if y'all are watching, Wendy does have the Nurse Wellness Hub too, another support system that you can tap into. And she does a lot of talks about, you know, similar things as well, and a lot of stress. But it just helps to have, you know, just a variety, like you said, different, you know, resources out there. That helps normalizing. And I feel like we're starting the changes here in our communities. Like we're the ones, we're normalizing it. And then the nurses are gonna go out and talk about it. So I love that we're doing this conversation and just making it, you know, something that's like we talk about, like it's okay. Like we experience these things. I know I did. Did you ever have a burnout a time in your life, or how did you overcome any stressor?
yeah, so last year during the pandemic, you know, I was a new mom. I had a newborn baby. I had a new husband, and I was in the process of returning back to, you know, clinical practice. So I was working from home, you know, when I was pregnant and had the baby, and I, you know, had a really nice home job. And I signed a contract to go back to the hospital before the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, I had to make a really tough decision. Do I go back to work and risk the health of my newborn baby and my husband? And at that time, my elderly mom was staying here, right? Do I do that, or do I kind of just stay here? And, you know, I already have a job. I don't have to go back. So that was a really stressful time for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, to make the decision, it took a long time because I was really wrestling with a lot of what ifs. I don't know what to do. And of course, my mom being in my ear, who she is, was like, you know, you have to prioritize your son's life, right? This virus is out there killing people. But the reason I was so conflicted is because I'm so committed to the profession.
Yeah.
And I made the decision to go back, despite everyone, my family, telling me not to, you're crazy. And I felt compelled to realign with my purpose. And that's where everything I'm doing was really birthed from, that experience. And I went back to the front lines, and right now I'm working. I'm working tomorrow, actually. You know, at a hospital. You know, despite COVID, despite having my baby who is healthy. You know, my husband, we haven't had a COVID problem, thank God. But yeah, I went back. I went back to clinical practice after the pandemic.
Yeah.
So during that time, I felt sick because I was so conflicted, and and I believe, you know, stress, if you're in that state for so long, bad things can happen. Because I was already feeling the physical manifestations of that stress of just trying to make that decision, that being pulled, right? So, yeah. So that's how I
That's
overcame it. And I always tell nurses, you have to align with your purpose. And I have to tell you, Fallon, once I made the decision, everything fell into place. I
yeah.
mean, I felt calm. Even though I was going back to work, you know, in the middle of the pandemic, I felt a calm that came over me. And I think that's because I was just aligned.
Yeah.
So
It sounds
that's
like
where everything
also
was
you
birthed
were.
from. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's great that, you know, also a really good thing came out of it, but it sounds like you were true to yourself, like you were able to honor yourself. Yes, I know it's gonna be hard for my family, or, you know, I understand, but I also want to honor my commitments, you know, here. So it feels like, you know, like you still honored yourself in that way. And so you were able to get some clarity. That's what it sounds like to me. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. I was very clear, and I honored myself, my profession, and more importantly, my patients. And I think, you know, the lesson in that for anyone who is listening to this or will listen to this is you have to honor yourself. You
Yeah.
have to align with what's right for you, not what's right for, you know, your family, or even your patients, what's right for you. Because if you're not right, no one else is going to be right.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one else is going to be right.
I definitely can agree. And how do you feel like you got to this rightness, you know, during a stressful time? How were you able to like so easily be like, or not so easily, but become more self-aware of like what you needed? What would you say are like maybe like one or two things that you did to get more aligned during a stressful time? Like, I
Yeah.
guess when you have to make a decision, right?
Yeah. Time alone, definitely, and journaling.
Mm.
Journaling
Mm.
is so powerful. Things that come out when you journal, it's amazing. Every time I journal, I get emotional. And I
Yeah.
could sit down like, oh, I don't really feel like journaling, but every time I journal, I have like I always say a spiritual experience. And then the words of my grandfather that I hold on to, and I heard those words so loud last year when he told me after I graduated from nursing school the same day, you know, after graduation, he said, Wendy, in this chapter of your life, you have to set your sail. And those words just resonated with me so many years later. Now, my grandfather is long gone, but those words, and I never even thought about them really until last year. And I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm setting my sail right now as we speak.
Mm. I love
So,
it.
yeah.
Setting your style. Like, I feel like it's like setting your pace, maybe like setting your direction,
It can mean so
maybe.
many things. It depends on who's interpreting it. Yes.
I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's not, you know, that's something that you hold near and dear to your heart. So I appreciate that. So journaling and time alone. I
Mm-hmm.
love those. I love those. So some people that I know have a hard time journaling. They don't know what to write. They don't know what to say. They don't know how much time to spend. What is a tip like, you know, especially somebody that has so many thoughts going on, they're stressed. Okay, how can you start today? Like just like somebody's thinking about journaling.
Yeah, so I always tell people when you say journaling, people think they have to like write sentences. Just jot down the words that you're thinking about in your head.
Mm,
You know, even if you're
mm,
thinking about, you know, Mr. Smith, you know, did I document everything? You know, I
mm.
wish I exercised. Just start writing those things down. You know what I mean? Just whatever's in your head. Or you can just start by your day. So
Yeah.
what good happened in your day? What are some areas where you could have improved? Right? Or what's bothering you? Or what do you need? Right? We know what to write. I think sometimes it's just hard to get those things on paper. And that's the powerful thing
Mm.
about journaling because it really puts some distance between you and what's going on up here.
Yes. So it's like journaling helps you just because I hear people say like I'm so busy, I don't have time, you know, and these are the people that are stressed the most and they're
Yeah.
like telling me, you know, I can't journal. Because when you take it from your head and put it on paper, does that make it real? Does that make it like something that I need to deal with? It's another way to maybe even hold yourself accountable too, I feel like.
Yeah. I also think, you know, we have to do things different. If you want something different, you have to do things different. People say, oh, I
Come
don't
on,
journal,
Wendy.
or I don't, you know, or I can't, or I don't have time. You have time for anything you want to make time for. And that's just real, right? Anything
Yeah.
you want to do, you make time for, right? So, you know, and that's where that whole mindset comes in. And even for me, that experience I told you about last year. So I'm the strong person. I'm the, you know, everyone calls me. So no one expects me to be stressed or anxious or afraid or all this stuff. But I was having all those emotions. And I had to be real with my family. Like, yes, I'm the nurse, but I'm also afraid. I've never experienced COVID. I'm also
Mm,
stressed. I'm also all
mm.
these things, right? So tapping into, I mean, first of all, being real with yourself, what are you feeling? And then trying new things.
Yeah.
Trying new things, right? Opposed to just poo-pooing it or I don't have time. I don't have time is an excuse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Take that tough love, y'all. I so approve. Like sometimes you just have to decide. You have to make a decision. I am done with this. Those pity parties, those poo poo moments, like Wendy was saying,
Yeah.
I like that too. Like, you have to decide, this is enough. This is no longer serving me. This thought pattern is just going to get me into a dark hole. And I speak so passionately about it because I've done it, the work, and it's good for us. We need it. So definitely. So I guess, let me see. What are some tips right now, someone who is experiencing stress? What would you tell them your top tips? I know you said journaling and alone time alone, but are there any top tips, like, just for somebody that's like experiencing stress right now?
Yes, I tell people, write down your 3 stressors. What are your top 3 stressors? And you prioritize them. Whatever the number 1 is it something you can control or something you can't control? Right?
That's a good one. If you can't
control it, you got to let it go. And I know that's very hard, but that's very real.
Yeah.
If you can control it, what can you do now? Not tomorrow, not next week. What can you do now to alleviate that stress?
I think that's really good.
And then really assessing, do you need help? You may need some help to help manage that stress. Maybe you need a coach. Maybe you need a mentor. Maybe you need to see a psychologist. Maybe you need, to have an open and real conversation with somebody. But what do you need? And then whatever you need or whatever you can do now, do it now. Execute now. So those are my tips. And I think the hardest thing there is really understanding what you can control and what you can't control. There's so many things I let go over this past year and a half. So many things.
I love that. Let it go. I think that really helps some of our, we have some comments here. I'm going to go to Latoska. My friend, also help at the hospital has standard hours, preventing them to get help. I guess from earlier, the having resources for the healthcare folks, the standard hours. So I guess maybe the therapists and things like that have standard hours. It's kind of hard to get to somebody. I think that's what she's meaning. Latoska, just let me know in the comments. And then Kibrit, thank you for your comments, ladies. After you've written it down, how do you use your journal entries to help you heal? She does the journaling, but often feels too overwhelmed to revisit. So I feel like that was really good, what you just said in response. What can you take? What can you take responsibility, and what do you need to let go of? I think that's really.
And the micro shifts, right? So we're not talking about you're going to do big things. One thing. And you know what? I challenge, all of you watching this week, 3 minutes. Put it on your calendar. 3 micro shifts you can make. Do something different in your life. Even if it's just 3 minutes of just silence, 3 minutes of just, just sit quiet with yourself. 3 minutes of just crying, 3 minutes of just walking alone, but just really paying attention to what's going on inside of you. Because all your answers are there. They're there. That you have the answers. You just have to listen to them.
That's so true. When you go to a therapist and they're like, they don't really give you too many answers. They ask you the question. So how do you really feel? What do you think about this? Do you think maybe it was this? And so, we have the answers. Sometimes we need that help to draw it out for sure. And so, community groups, people to support you, coaches, even therapists, counselors, all of those resources are there, and sometimes we need help. But we do ultimately, have the answers. You just need somebody to help guide you. I love that. So beautiful. So what are some, maybe as we're wrapping up, what are some possible signs that, our daily, everyday stress that we experience as nurses is a little bit more than just our daily stress? That maybe this is something I need to, do the journaling. Maybe I need to go to a therapist. What are some maybe signs, maybe physical, that we may experience or that we may notice?
Yeah. So I'll say the bottom line is, if you're not showing up in the world the way you want to be seen, then you may need to do some self-reflection. That's really it. Because when we're stressed, many of us, we don't like who we are, right? And in the physical signs, you're not sleeping, You're thinking about things constantly in your head, just constantly being preoccupied with things. When you're going to work, you don't feel excited about going to work, right? You may have palpitations, you have panic attack, anxiety. If you're on medications that you weren't on before, right? These are things. If you are not balanced, and I really define stress like that. It's really an imbalance. So it causes a hormonal imbalance biologically, as we know, but it causes an imbalance in your life. We're not balanced, right? We don't feel right. We don't feel good, right? And the thing with stress is that it can be episodic. So you may just be stressed when you're at work on the floor, right? Or when you're going to work. But the thing is, once that keeps happening so often, it can turn into that chronic stress where you get into problems, where it really starts impacting your mental and physical states, right?
Yeah.
We just talked about that. So being aware of that, and what can you do about that is the question. What can you do? And I want to just say this, and I'm sorry, I know we're wrapping up, but whoever's watching or hearing this, you have the power to live the life you want to live. You have the power as a nurse to live the life you want to live. There's so much we can do in this world. So much. And if you don't like what you're doing now, do something else.
Come on. Yes, I love that.
And I'll leave it there, but I want to know that you guys, we have so much power. We have so much knowledge. I mean, we change the world even when we're not at the bedside. So, I mean, there's just, oh, don't get me started. But I just want to leave you with that we have the power to do anything we want. And don't let anyone ever tell you anything different.
Yes. Or your circumstances, just, whatever the unknowns we're facing, like we still have the power. We can still make changes. We can still make an impact. And I love that you're just reinforcing that in us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy. I so appreciate y'all. If you love this conversation, if you want to hear more from Wendy, she is definitely going to be with us at the Nurse Wellness Community event. The Nurse Wellness Community turns 1. She's going to be a special panelist dropping all her gems with us August 27th. So you don't want to miss out on that. Wendy, any final words as we head out? Thank you again so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me. First of all, I'm excited about being on the panel, and I'll just reiterate that, everyone who's watching, just thank you so much for your service to the world. You are leaving your fingerprint on the world, and we need you. So please honor yourself and take care of yourself, because without you, this world would not be the same. And every one of you have an added value that we need. So let that be the motivation to take care of yourself.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Can't wait to see you August 27th. And I will add all the information so you can follow, support, like all of the things Wendy Garvin. Amazing. Thank you again. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Y'all, Wendy dropped the gems. What an amazing conversation with our special panelists. I just wanted to give you some little tidbits. I just wanted to give you a little something so that you can be prepared for this panelist that we're going to have on the Nurse Wellness Community event as we celebrate our 1-year anniversary. I cannot wait to discuss all things wellness, all things health, all things mental wellness as well with her, and stress solutions. We need some uplifting. We need some motivation. We need to know that we're empowered and we make an impact. So you don't want to miss out on this amazing event. August 27th, I'll drop the link so that you can reserve your spot with us. We're going to have a wonderful guest of panelists that are going to be sharing and discussing all of these topics. We're going to have a special yoga flow that's going to be led by one of our community members. We're going to have giveaways. We even have merch. We are growing and glowing out here as healthcare heroes. We make an impact. We make a difference. And sometimes, it takes somebody to tell you that. It takes a community to help you realize that. And those daily things that you're doing every day is going to reinforce that in you, those habits, those mindsets, those patterns of self-doubt, all of those things that you're doing every day, it's going to affect you. So you need to start preparing, get those tools that are going to help you with the stress that may come your way. Whatever comes our way, we're prepared. And we are doing a lot of this support and community growth here in the community. And I'm super excited about that. Y'all, this started a year ago. This started all but a year ago. And I'm so excited for where we're going, how we're supporting nurses, and how we're making our impact. Like Wendy said, if you're not happy in what you're doing now, then maybe something needs to change. And we're here to support you in that. Y'all, I can't wait. August 27th, you don't want to miss out. Tomorrow, I'm also going live on Instagram. So if you don't follow my Instagram, make sure you check it out because we talk about all things health and wellness, right? And tomorrow, I'm talking with the financial advisor, Mr. Jaron, about financial wellness. How do we take care of the finances? That's what this wellness thing is all about. Let's take care of our mind, body, and soul. And that includes finances. That includes, our mental health, our